context of white supremacy, this is on page 12 of Death of Black America. And you are talking about conditions under Nazi Germany and
Hmm.
comparing the treatment of the victims in concentration camps to the victimization that black people in the United States experienced under formal slavery. And I'll just read out, this is actually, I'm going to read 12 and 13 because I think it's great information, and then you can expound.
Hmm.
And you're quoting a different author.
Hmm.
The prisoners develop types of behavior which are characteristic of infancy or early youth. Some of these behaviors developed slowly. Others were immediately imposed on the prisoners and developed only in intensity as time went on. Once the torture victim realized that they had no alternative other than death, they submitted and internalized the social standards set by their torturer. The torturer replaced the person's behavior with traits deemed acceptable by him. This new identity is an external construct, and the object must accept this role identity or die. Elkins, different author, refers to Bettelheim's finished product description of prison programming by torture. A prisoner had reached the final stage of adjustment to the camp situation when he had changed his personality so as to accept as his own the values of the Gestapo. The old prisoners came to share the attitude of the SS toward the unfit prisoners. The newcomers who behaved badly in the labor groups or who could not withstand the strain became a liability for others, who were often instrumental in getting rid of them. I want to just back up and read that one more time. People don't miss that. The old prisoners came to share the attitude of the SS toward the unfit prisoners. Newcomers who behaved badly in the labor groups or who could not withstand the strain became a liability for the others, who were often instrumental in getting rid of them. Many old prisoners actually imitated the SS. They would sew and mend their uniforms in such a way as to make them look like those of the SS. This torture and trauma programming of American slavery closely mirrors the Nazi torture program, less the desire for extermination. The concentration camp also followed the same structure as the Southern plantation. Officers took the place of Southern aristocracy. Enlisted guards worked as overseers, and capos, trustee prisoners, stood in place of Negro drivers and house slaves who supervised other prisoners and had the ear of their masters. Elkins describes the concentration camp hierarchy and the prisoners' assimilation of Nazi ideals as their own. These creatures, many of them professional criminals, not only behaved with slavish servility to the SS, but the way in which they often outdid the SS in sheer brutality became one of the most durable features of the concentration camp legend. This also explains why the use of the word nigger is so common among black Americans. We have black people internalized white ideals of black identity as our own. Uh, Death of Black America, that's pages 12 through 14. If you'd like to share your thoughts, Mr. Reya?
Yeah, it's dead on. When I stumbled across that, I was floored that, um, we had done it to that extent. But if you look at every slave rebellion in this country, typically we were betrayed by other blacks. Nothing could be sustained. The plantation structure mirrors that. The torture, the way that the house slaves and drivers would they take the cast-off clothes of the ownership and dress up like them because they wanted to mimic the aristocracy or the slaveholders. And it's sad, but it was that either assimilate or die mentality, and the fact that it pitted peer prisoners against each other, which with Black Americans comes down to this very day. Typically, Black Americans are at each other's throat in competition for white approval of one way or another. You can be a bad Negro or a good Negro. Those are the two constructs created for us, and that's what we work toward. And it's unique or incredible that this documentation written in the 50s was sat on. No one put it out there. No one in the Black academic setting discussed it. And I stumbled across it in the Library of Congress. And it just really frustrated me that, the fact that no one would really challenge America, the establishment, about what was done to us, because that Nazi concentration training only lasted about, let's say, 10 years, 1935 to 1945. We underwent that for roughly 250 years, depending on where you were, 300 in some other places, but generationally, repeatedly, from birth, brought up. These were people that were probably educated. A lot of them were, at least a high school diploma, and they adapted that quickly. And that was just one generation. They didn't, their kids didn't grow up in it because it was an extermination program. With us, it was a behavior program and taught and then perpetuated by us. And we basically self-policed at that point. And that's what's so, upsetting about it. And the fact that the Black community won't look critically at our own history and pick it apart and try to heal from it.